Hi, hello, and welcome back to my channel. I am Danielle, and this is PJs and Pages, where we talk about books in our PJs. Hopefully, some days I actually am a functioning adult and I get out of my PJs, but most of the time I only have time to film when I'm in my PJs. So here we are, and today. Oh, it's something on my camera, never mind. Today I am going to be doing a new book tag. So this one I got the idea from The Mild Rumpus. I'm not entirely certain where it originated from. The earliest video I could find was this one, so I will link it down below. So that may be the originator, I'm not entirely certain. But it is called the Off the Top of Your Head book tag, and I really like the idea of just like coming up with the answers off the top of your head and seeing what comes out. So number one, what was your, actually hold on, let me take a sip of my tea because we are in the process of waking up. Okay, that's better. So number one, what was your favorite picture book as a child? Ooh, picture book as a child. I think there was like, I don't know if it was Dr. Seuss or P.D. Eastman or one of those that is like the Cat in the Hat beginner books. But there was this one, Wacky Wednesday, that was just like these wacky wacky things were happening on Wacky Wednesday, like feet were on top of their head, they were wearing shoes for gloves or something like that. And so the pictures were just wacky, and I remember loving to flip through that and just looking at the wacky pictures. So Wacky Wednesday, I think it was Dr. Seuss. Let's say Wacky Wednesday by Dr. Seuss. Number two, what series did you love as a child? Ooh. There were so many series that I loved as a child. I was a big reader. Like, my escapism was reading, and I was a child who was not diagnosed with ADHD, but definitely had it, and my hyperfixation was reading. It still kind of is. So let me look at my bookshelves because I know I still have some of them. There was the Harry Potter series, the Golden Compass series. You know what? It's definitely, okay, it's gonna be one of the Tamora Pierce series, her quartets. Tamora Pierce wrote like female-centric high fantasy for middle grade, and I was obsessed with her writing. I started with the Protector of the Smalls quartet, but I don't know that that's my favorite one. The one that I reread the most was the Song of the Lioness quartet, I believe is what it's called. It's the one that follows Alana, and she is this girl, she's a twin, and she has some magic, but for the most part her brother has lots of magic and she's not great at it, but she likes to fight, and she wants to be a knight. And she basically, her father is like, okay, you guys are 12 years old, we're gonna send you off, as they do back in the Middle Ages type periods, we're gonna send you off to where you're gonna go for learning what to do for the rest of your life. So Alana, you're going to like finishing school and at like this abbey, and Tom, I think is what his name was, Tom, you're going to the kingdom to learn how to be a knight. Well, Tom was not okay with that because he wanted to be a magician, and magicians are actually trained at the abbey with the ladies doing finishing school. They get trained by the abbots, and are trained in the magical arts. And so Alana comes up with this great idea to switch places because they're twins. They look uncannily alike, except that one of them is a girl and one of them is a boy. So she's like, I'm just gonna cut my hair, flatten my boobs, let's do this. And so she does. And it is such a great story. I have reread the whole quartet probably about 30 or 40 times. I kid you not. I would finish the first book, I would finish the series, and I would go right back to the first book and reread it again. Like, easily I would reread it 3 times in a row, several times a year, from like the time I was in middle school through high school. So I've read it a lot. It is definitely Song of the Lioness by Tamora Pierce is my favorite series as a child, definitely. All right. Number 3, the worst book you have read or tried to read. Ooh. That's a hard one. I don't tend to remember the worst books I've read. I don't keep them for sure, so they're not jarring my memory on my shelf. I think the only thing that I can think of right off the top of my head is me and my friends decided to like read some smut, like some ridiculous smut, and just to see, like, just to laugh at it. And we found dinosaur smut. Yes, that's right, where the woman falls in love with the dinosaur. That's what it is. Now, there was like, it's like a cave woman and she falls for a dinosaur kind of thing, and that's all. The Tyrannosaurus Rex, that's the one. Yeah, she fell for a Tyrannosaurus Rex, or she's captured by one. I don't know. It was not good. As far, like, I've read a lot of smut, and sometimes you just read smut for smut. This was interesting. It's definitely not my jam. If it's for you, I'm so happy for you. The writing was not good, and then the smut was not good. The second book was worse than the first book, if that's possible, because the first book I think I gave it 2 stars because it was like, I could see, like, the smut was a little bit better, so I could see somebody who likes monster smut being into it, but the second book, even the smut was cringy. Like, I just couldn't even get through it. Let me see what those books were called. Hold on, I'm really curious now. Aha, okay. Sexual Tyrannosaurus is the first one. And, well, okay, so it's 2 books within this book. I read the first short story. First short story was okay. Second one, no. Bad writing and bad smut, so it's just a no-go for me. I don't know that I would even recommend it to people who like dinosaur smut. So that is Sexual Tyrannosaurus by Cassandra and Elizabeth Gannon. I mean, there's like a note from the author saying that this was basically like them just playing around, but yeah, no. It was actually published. Like, is it an actual publisher, or was it independently published? Okay, it's independently published, thank God. At least a publisher was smart enough not to pick it up. So I would say that the first book was great, second book not. I'm assuming maybe one of the sisters wrote one of the books and the other one not, and that's why there's such a difference between the 2 of them. So that is the worst book I have read or tried to read. I'm sure there's one that made me angry that I had to stop reading, but I've blocked it out. So we're just gonna go with that one. Bad smut. Okay, number 4. Your favorite reading or book memory. So my favorite reading or book memory is getting my first library card. I was 4 years old, I think. I want to say I was 4. I'm pretty sure I was 4 on the cusp of 5, because it was right before kindergarten. And I grew up in Miami, Florida. We went to the Kendall Library, and it's the bigger library in the Miami-Dade area, and it's beautiful. It has like this big glass front, and it's 2 stories. The children's section is huge, like probably the biggest children's section I've ever seen in my entire life. So very exciting just to be there. I used to go with my mom, and we would just pick out books, and she would check them out on her library card. But that day, it was my turn to get a library card, and I remember them giving it to me and telling me that I could write my name on it. So I would write my name, and I put a little heart for the A in Danielle, and the I dotted with a heart too. And I thought I was very clever at 4 years old for doing this. And I still very clearly remember signing my name on that card. And that was the start to my reading journey, really, being able to check out whatever books I wanted on my own. I didn't need my mommy there. My grandma could take me, anybody could take me. And that was just so exciting. And that is my favorite book memory. Yeah, I'm signing for my first library card, and I actually still have that library card. I'm pretty sure it's in my memorabilia box, because it's that special to me. So yeah. Number 5, a book you loved as a movie. Okay, a book I loved as a movie. I could have sworn that I just watched one where I was like, oh yeah, I kind of like the movie better. Book I loved as a movie. It's a Netflix one. I tried reading it. It was Wattpad fiction. I can't do it. Apparently, I'm just not good with Wattpad. So, what was it? They published it recently. The Kissing Booth. I love that movie. It's so cute. But the book just is not for me. It's also very, very much so YA, and I am not YA anymore. Apparently, it's just not my jam. Like, I can do some fantasy YA, but contemporary YA, I have a little bit of I'm struggling with it a little, to be perfectly honest. I find the characters to be immature, which they are, because they're YA. So it's perfectly fair. I think that the books are good for the audience they're intended for, but I have a hard time reading them for myself. So I'm gonna go with The Kissing Booth. I can't remember who it's by. Let's see. The Kissing Booth by Beth Reekles. The Kissing Booth. I think that the movies turned out fantastic. The books just were not for me. Next up, number 6, a book you wish they would turn into a movie. Ooh. I think I'm gonna go with the book I just finished reading, Remarkably Bright Creatures. I was actually, one of the notes that I put in it is that there's some very vivid imagery that I think would just be hilarious. I don't know how they would do the voice of Marcellus, since he's one of the main characters. So Remarkably Bright Creatures follows Tova Sullivan, who is, like 70 septuagenarian, and she's just been recently widowed. 30 years ago, she lost her son, who was 18 years old. They don't give you much details about what happened, except that he was lost to the ocean, the Puget Sound. Puget? I don't know how to say that. Anyway, so she's working night shift at the aquarium, the local aquarium, and she befriends the giant Pacific octopus Marcellus, who is a remarkably bright creature. And Marcellus is incredibly smart, and he actually might have some information about what happened to her son. You also get some other perspectives from a young man named Cameron, who is searching for his father in that town, and his mother was an addict and left him with his aunt, so he doesn't know who his father is. And he's just he finds some information that says that maybe his father is from where Tova lives. And then you also get some perspective from a man named Ethan, who is the local grocer. And he's an interesting character as well. The characters are all very interesting. I think that the underlying mystery is interesting. The idea of it is really cool, and the way that it was worded, like, the imagery was just so good. You could really see things. There were some parts that were just really funny. I think it would make a really great film. And I think it would be a great feel-good movie. So I'm gonna go with Remarkably Bright Creatures by Shelby Van Pelt. I think that one would make a great movie, and it hasn't been yet, as far as I know. I'm not really good at keeping up with what's going on in the movies right now, because I can't watch too many of them. All right, we are on number 7, a book character that you would like as a friend. A book character I would like as a friend. Someone bookish too. I want a friend who's bookish. Let's see. Okay, so here's the problem with that one. I read a lot of books, and this is kind of a gripe that I have with books, where the female protagonist and the male protagonist are usually significantly younger than I am. Like, they're always in their early 20s, or they're like late teenage years. And that's like fine and lovely and wonderful, but what about us 30-year-olds? Like, I want to read some books about some 30-year-olds. I think maybe the Bromance Book Club. You know what? The Bromance Book Club, guys. I wouldn't mind being friends with Mac. So the Bromance Book Club by Lyssa K. Adams is a series of books where they're like standalone romantic comedies, and standalone, like, but they're all with the same, like, you can read each one standing alone, but how do I say that? Interconnected standalones. They are interconnected standalones, and it basically follows a member of the book club, and the main character is actually the male in the book, usually. So it's Mac is the leader of the book club, and they basically are a group of guys who read romance novels, and in order to improve their personal relationships with their female partners. Max is notoriously, I guess he's notoriously single. Yeah, he's like notoriously the single guy, and he understands women really, really well. His best friend is a female, and he ends up falling for this other girl. Won't get into the story, but basically Mac, he's really funny. He started this book club. He reads romance books. I think he would be such a fun friend. And he's like this, is he like an ex-football player or something like that? I don't know, but he's got an interesting life. And I think being friends with Mac would be a good time. So I'm gonna go with Mac from the Bromance Book Club. I would love to be friends with him. He sounds like a great dude, and I think we would be really good friends, actually. So number 8. Oh, we're on number 8. Okay, a place you want to visit because of a book you read. This one's easy. This is Prince Edward Island in Canada from Anne of Green Gables. Anne of Green Gables is one of my all-time favorite books. I've talked about it a lot on this channel, and I've loved it since I was in middle school, high school, can't remember when I first read it, but I think I tried to read it in elementary school, and I was like, classics, I didn't like these. But then I read it in, I'm pretty sure it was high school. I read it in high school, and I fell in love. I have reread that book too many times, and I plan on rereading it again this year, honestly. So it is a comfort read for me, and I am absolutely in love with Prince Edward Island. I have never been there, but I am in love with it because of Anne of Green Gables. So I would move there if I could, honestly. And I actually, guys, I have a friend who went to school, who went to college on Prince Edward Island. I kid you not. I didn't even know there was a school on there. If I had known that, I wouldn't have been able to afford to go there anyway. But how cool is that? She went to school on Prince Edward Island, and she's like just as obsessed with Anne of Green Gables as I am. Maybe not as obsessed, but she loves Anne of Green Gables like I do, and so she was really excited about it as well. I just think that is the coolest thing. So Prince Edward Island, anyway, tangent, sorry. Prince Edward Island from Anne of Green Gables. That is the place that I would want to visit. It's on my bucket list. I'm gonna make my husband make it happen at some point. But that is where I want to go because of the book. All right, and number 9, a nonfiction book you would recommend. A nonfiction book I would recommend. I think the best, hold on. I've got 2. I don't read a lot of nonfiction, so it's easy for me to remember which ones I've read. Okay, so the one that has made the biggest difference in my life is Driven to Distraction, Recognizing and Coping with Attention Deficit Disorder from Childhood Through Adulthood. And this is by Edward M. Hallowell and John J. Ratty, both are MDs. And it is basically about ADHD, and especially like how to recognize what it looks like, what the symptoms are, ways that you can help yourself if you have ADHD to be a much more functioning human being. And it has been so helpful to me. For those of you who don't know, I have bipolar disorder and ADHD, and this book was, understanding who I am, understanding why I am the way I am, and that was just mentally such a huge thing for me. So if you suffer from ADHD and you have not read this book, highly recommend. If you don't suffer from ADHD, I have another recommendation for you, and that is the bullet journal method. Actually, if you have ADHD, I also recommend this. This is by Ryder Carroll. He is I don't know, I don't like to say that he created the bullet journal method because it's really not like anything. I'm pretty sure it existed before he coined it the bullet journal method. But he is touted as being the creator of the bullet journal method, and he did compile all this information and make it more well known. So let's call him the creator of the bullet journal. And it is about how to bullet journal. So it actually has diagrams about how to set up your bullet journal. Bullet journaling is essentially a way of logging your days. You can use it as a planner also. You can use it as a reflection tool. You can use it for collecting random notes and thoughts that you have. I have been bullet journaling since 2013. I am a huge planner person, but I've never been able to find planner piece. The closest I can get to it is this. The only reason it isn't complete planner piece is that I have to draw out my calendars myself, and sometimes with the ADHD, that's just not a thing. Like, I just don't have the energy to do that. But there's other ways of doing it that are much more simple, and if you follow this is like the most simplistic way of doing it. The idea of indexing your journals and your notes, game changer. Yeah, and it also is, I think it's kind of like a self-help book a little bit. So it talks about preparation, decluttering your mind, like there's a little bit of self-helpness to it. Then it talks about the system, how to use the notebook, what are the different parts of it. Then it talks about the practice, which is actually kind of like, it's kind of a self-help thing. It's about learning how to reflect, how to prioritize. I found it really helpful, and every once in a while I go back and reread certain portions because I just need to remind myself, like, hey, this is what's important. So driven to distraction, if you are ADHD or you live with someone who's ADHD, very helpful. And the bullet journal method for everybody else. Those are the nonfiction books that I would recommend. And let's see, the last book is, if you could hang out with an author all day, who would you pick and why? That is a good question. I think I'm gonna go with Leigh Bardugo. I think she is a phenomenal writer. I think she's interesting. She went to Yale. She is a phenomenal writer. Her range is incredible. She's written everything from YA fantasy to dark academia to adult, like historical fantasy, which is really cool. Yeah, I think I'd want to hang out with Leigh Bardugo. I think picking her brain would be really cool. I think she would be interesting to talk to. I think she's had interesting experiences, and that's why I would pick her. So that's it. That is the tag. I think I am gonna go ahead. It doesn't mention to tag anybody, but it's a tag video. So I'm gonna go ahead. If you're watching this, consider yourself tagged. Go ahead and do this video. It's easy off the top of your head, so you don't have to have anything really prepared. So if you're just starting YouTube and you don't know where to go, try this one. Okay, so off the top of my head, let's do off the top of my head, people. I'm gonna tag Angela Danielle. I'm gonna tag Cat and Too Many Books, and I'm going to tag Kit Kats Can Read. 3 people. Yay, I did it. Okay, that is the off the top of your head book tag. So thank you so much for sticking around and watching. If you've watched this far, go ahead and answer one of the questions in the comments below. I'd love to hear your answers and start a conversation about that. And yeah, hopefully I'll see you in the next video. Bye.